Hello and welcome back to the channel and another video about the construction of Heaton Lodge Junction Phase 2. Now, I've been on my travels this week. In fact, I've been down to Peterborough to see my good friend Dave Lowery, who's, some of you will know from previous videos, got a fantastic O-gauge layout in his, I was going to say his garden shed, but it's really not a garden shed. It's like a huge outbuilding in his garden. So we're going to go and see him because he's been building something extremely special in O-gauge, of course, which he's going to be kindly lending me to perform on this layout when it goes out. So I've also been over to Axminster to see the guys at Absolute Aspects because they finished a load of signals for the layout. We've never really talked about signals much, so we're going to elaborate on that today too. The other thing as well is I noticed in the comments actually, which I really appreciate. I know there's people that regularly put comments on there. They know who they are and I'm always really grateful for them. But somebody made a constructive, critical point actually last week, which really kind of, made sense, to be honest. It was a really good point. And he said, I think it was a he said that the Puddles, which I did with the AK Interactive on the layout the other week, he thought they were rubbish. And to be quite honest with you, I went back because some of you might know I've previously used the method using microscopic glass slides. And I changed to the AK Interactive method because it was a bit quicker. And I had a look at it and you know what, he's right. They're nowhere near using that AK Interactive fluid for Puddles, which I'm going to elaborate on in a minute. Nowhere near as realistic as the microscopic slides method. So we're going to look at the microscopic slides method for doing Puddles, which I believe is probably the most realistic Puddles you're ever going to get. So lots to cover. Without further ado, let's crack on. Okay, let's talk signals. Not something we've talked about actually, really, in Phase 2 of Heaton Lodge Junction. These were all made, they're bespoke obviously, and they're made by Absolute Aspects, who supply signals in double O-gauge, N-gauge, and of course O-gauge, which you see here. Now, when I did the original track plan for Heaton Lodge Junction Phase 2, clearly, I was going to need colour light signals. The era that we're portraying, as most of you will know, is for the public in the 2000s. So a lot of these signals, which are to go in specific locations, obviously, come with these cages, which you can see are being built on the side, which look really, really good. And some of them come with theatre boxes as well, which again are the ones that really denote junctions or the lead up to a station or something similar to that. But yeah, these are all from Axminster. Absolute Aspects is based there, and I went down there and picked everything up, not wanting to risk a courier. So just to go quickly through them, we've got, as I said, some have got the feathers on, with the theatre boxes and the cages. Most of them have got the location ID at the front for HM Healy Mills, and they're not actually completely accurate because I've had to make up, because the track plan isn't the same obviously as Healy Mills, otherwise it would fill this basement and probably two more basements as well. So I've had to make up the locations, but the signals are loosely based on the ones that were at Healy Mills in the 80s all the way up to the early 2000s. So again, some of them come with theatre boxes on the sides and the cages too. Some are without, like this one here. We've also got the ground signals, which are these, and they fit. Most of them are actually going to go in the MGR unloading facility, all the sidings leading up to those, to beckon the trains forward. But they're also going to go in the fiddle yards or the storage sidings as well. So, in fact, they're all over the place, basically. So we've got 50 of those, and we've got more on the left here. But the best part is Tom from Absolute Aspects has made me these, which I will just unwrap and show you, because these are beautifully made gantries, which, as you can see, are made out of solid brass. He's basically soldered these together put the soldered the cages on the sides, and boy, has he made such a really good job of these. This one is based very much on one that was just on the left-hand side of Healy Mill's shed. I'll try and find a picture, and if I do find one, it'll pop up on your screen now. If not, then apologies. But yeah, this is based on one at Healy Mills, and then the other one, which is here. I shall carefully unwrap these. They are quite fragile, to be honest. Even though they're made out of brass, there's all sorts of detailing on them, so you've just got to be a little bit careful. Oops, I thought I'd unwrap this before, but I haven't, so forgive me. Just have to undo this. There we go. I saw this actually when I went down to Axminster before Tom actually wrapped it, and you can see where we're going with it. This one's a little bit longer. Hopefully this will slide off. Will it? Oh, I don't want to do anything to it. Hang on. Really should have done this before I did the this bit. There we go. Right, finally there. So we've got the gantry here, which has got a rearward facing signal, as you can see, again based on Healy Mills, but at the very far side, which, well, few people actually saw, but I did see it in the original track plan for Healy Mills, and I just thought it would look really, really nice. And you can see how intricate this is. It really does look nice. Obviously, I'm going to weather these, put a little bit of rust on them, not too much, but I certainly will be weathering it. Might put the odd workman at the bottom on the phone or whatever at some point. But these have got cages too, as you can see. And then at the bottom, you've got the pin connector, and that is where, I'll just put this over here, that is where these come in, because these all fit. Tom's done me meter lengths of these ribbon cables because I don't exactly know where the electrics are going to be under the boards yet. So just to be safe rather than sorry, we've put, or he's put, much longer ribbon cable connectors in there. So these all obviously clip on the underside of here, or like that so. And likewise with all the other ones in the box there, they're all different for each signal. And I'll have to work that out which is which, but it shouldn't be too difficult. But there we go. Hope you like that. Oops. Again, there's just so many little bits to catch everything on. So you just need to be really careful with these, which again is why I travelled all the way down to Axminster to pick them up. But I'm really pleased with those. They look fantastic. Cost, oh goodness me, I hate talking about money, I know. Oh, crikey. Cost, I think, in the region of about £4,500 for all these, which I know I can almost hear the sharp intakes of breath. But look, in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm certainly in here up to my neck with this layout, so we might as well go all in, balls out, so to speak. Forgive my language, and just get the job done. So there we go. All the signals delivered, remain to be fitted, but I am so pleased with them. Absolute aspects, again, come up trumps, all hand built, absolutely beautiful. And you can buy these online, obviously, from their website, or you can give them a ring and discuss your requirements over the phone. I'm only giving them a plug because they've just done such a sterling job with these. So thanks to Tom who built them, and yeah, I hope you like the intricacy of them. And as I've just said, once they're weathered, you can even see, look, they've got the if the camera can pick them up, you've even got the inspection panels on the back. I mean, these are really, really elaborate. Every single bit of detail, from the bolt heads at the bottom, yeah, cages, everything's on them. Stunning. And once they're weathered, they really will be fantastic. The resistors that are supplied with them give the lights just a really nice kind of tone. In other words, some of them are too bright, you see, on some railways, some are too dim. I've tried to mimic the real kind of BR stroke rail track stroke network rail before they went to the LED types, which clearly these aren't the new style LED types, which only came in a few years ago on the network. These obviously covered the eras from the 80s all the way up to the mid 2000s. So yeah, there we go. Hope you like that. Okay, so let's nip down to Peterborough and see Dave Lowery and his fantastic layout, because he has been, well, he's actually excelled himself this time. I know he won't mind me saying so, because he has built none other than a Transpennine bimode. I think they call it the Nova 2, which, yeah, it's a little bit new for this layout, even for me, but it will be running on HS3 next year because it's such a spectacular piece of modelling. It really can't not show itself. It's superb. Dave's a prolific modeler, and yeah, he really has done a great job with this. So let's just go and have a quick look at it. Right, let's talk Puddles for 5 minutes, because it was a good point that chap made in the YouTube comments last week, because I have now gone over where I'm pointing here with the old AK Interactive liquid that I was using this week, which, just to remind you, was this. And I just simply dug a hole out and I put some of this in, and yeah, it looked okay. It might be all right for some people, but it really kind of didn't work for me. So I've gone back to the microscope slide method, which we're going to cover now. But before I do, I just wanted to give Gordon Gravitt a plug for this book, because it's been around a long time. And basically, if you ever, or if you just buy one book in your life about scenery, it needs to be this one. It's probably basically my Bible. I used it all the way through the making of phase 1 on Heaton Lodge Junction. It's just fantastic in terms of the different ways and the different methods that Gordon uses to do scenery, especially static grass, all the things that I do on Heaton Lodge. I've just taken some of his methods and I've elaborated on them and changed them as new products have come available. but it really is a super book. So as I say, I will give it a plug because again, it's been my Bible for so many years, and it's one of his techniques which I've taken and used for the Puddles, which is the microscope slide method. So just to elaborate on that, for those of you that haven't watched this before, because I covered this about a year ago, we need microscope slides, which you can get online, the very thin glass slides. So you've got to be a little bit careful with them because you can cut yourself with them. But they come in a box like this. I think a box like this, I can't remember how much it is. I think it was something between 10 and 20 pounds. But they make spectacular puddles. And I'm just going to quickly show you how to do it. Again, it's covered in Gordon Gravitt's book. I just modified it a little bit. But basically, the first thing you need to do is take a couple of slides and paint them, or paint one side in a greeny brown. I've just used two paints from Tamiya. I've just used, what have I used? I've used Deck Brown, and what else have I used? Just a dark, I haven't got my glasses on, dark green acrylic paint, but it can be any greeny brown paint, but you just need to paint one of these slides on one side in a mixture of greeny brown paint. The next thing you need to do is you just need to cut around the slide with a scalpel onto some thin card, because these are so brittle that it needs some sort of base to kind of stop it from shattering, and they are very easy to break. But if it does break or it does crack once you've put it in, it doesn't matter, because you can cover it with some of the Das clay that I'm going to come on to a minute and make it into two puddles. But anyway, so basically all we've done here before I started filming this, I've just painted one side in the greeny brown paint, and if you turn it over, you then get this beautiful shiny effect that looks exactly like a puddle once it's in the scenery, of course. So next thing to do, job 2, is just to glue this to, obviously glue it with the painted side down, not the shiny side down, the painted side down once it's dry to the thin card, and then you'll be left with something like this. This one I've put a little bit more green on, as you can see. And then the next thing to do is to impregnate it into the scenery. So we'll just cover that next. Right, I've just moved the camera slightly around. So basically all I've done here is I'm using foam board rather for the base. I like it because it's thick, it's easy to cut. You can use card, thick card for this too, but I just prefer foam board basically. And all I've done here is just use the metal rule to just cut around this this slide which I've painted earlier, and also put the card on the back. And then the next thing to do is, as you can see here, you can probably just see that hole if the camera can pick it up. I've gone all the way through there, but it doesn't matter as long as you've got some sort of base for the slide to actually sit in. And as you can see here, all I've done is I've just put that. It needs to be obviously lower than the surface, because puddles never obviously sit on the surface. Well, I guess they do, but they look a lot more realistic than when they're actually slightly below the surface around them. So that goes in there like that. Now I usually glue, just using PVA, just put a dab of glue on the back of this, put it into the actual hole that we've cut with the scalpel. Again, you just have to be very careful. I'm sure I'm going to break this. I've just got a feeling that I'm going to do. But anyway, and then we're just going to get a bit of Das clay, which we're then going to use. I love Das clay. The reason I use Das clay all the time and not any other brand is simply because it just doesn't crack when it dries. So we're just going to use the Das clay, as you can see, just to bed in and fill in the sides between the slide puddle and the surrounding area. And again, you just have to be very careful here, because this is where you may crack a slide. But if you do, again, it's very easy just to cover the crack with a bit more Das clay, and then you end up with 2 puddles or 3 puddles rather than 1. So there we go. I'll just do all this on camera. Once this clay has dried, it actually acts like glue anyway and secures the slide very much into the hole we've cut for it. Right, nearly there. Just the remaining bit, and as you can see, this is already taking shape. I'll just zoom in on that a bit so you can see. Excuse me. So there is our puddle, and then all we're going to do now is, in fact, I'll just show you quickly actually, we can easily make two puddles out of this just by putting a little more clay across. Whoops, nearly knocked the camera over there. We can put a little more clay. This clay is acting as mud basically, because we're going to paint this brown in a second, and we can just make this into two puddles like so. So again, this takes a little bit more time than just putting AK interactive puddle solution into a hole you've dug for it, but it really does look good. And then if we just go back to the brown paint, I'm speeding this up obviously. I would really probably wait for this clay to dry before painting it. But then if we put on some colour at the surround of the puddle, you can see where I'm going with this. We've got what will turn out to be a very, very realistic water feature, or mini one. Right, I'm not going to do any more of this because you can see where I'm going with it. I really enjoy doing this sort of thing. It's great fun. It really increases the realism, and it really does draw people's attention, because nobody knows exactly how you've done them unless you watch these videos, of course. I'm sure it's not an old method. Gordon Gravitt, as I said before, wrote about it years ago, but it seemed to be a method which kind of fell out of favour, but I love it. So that, my friends, is a puddle, and I'll just move the camera and just show you ones that I've actually dug out using the AK interactive puddle solution that I did in this section of the car park, which is underneath this board, last week, and I'll show you what I've done to make these more realistic. Right, so these are the ones that I did in the car park since I last saw you, and I've just changed, as I've just said, from AK Interactive to the microscope method that I've just shown you. Now, what I do think is worth buying is this stuff here, AK Interactive Terrain Muddy Ground. This is quite good stuff because it makes fantastic mud. If you just put it on a brush like so, I'm just going to use it just to fill in the area around the puddle. As you can see, I've just basically painted a little bit of tarmac paint. Again, I used Phoenix Precision Paints tarmac to do this car park and the road surrounding it, or the road leading up to it. But I've just painted around this puddle with the tarmac, because broken tarmac is what you see around puddles. You don't see pristine tarmac and then with a big puddle suddenly that's materialized. It's usually surrounded by cracks and all sorts of things. So as you can see where I'm going with this, this is looking pretty good. And once I've covered all the DAS clay, the white DAS clay, once this is dry, I'll give it a little bit of a polish with a cloth. I don't put anything on it, but that will catch the light and will just be one very realistic puddle. And I'm going to be using this method again and go back to what I used to do on Heaton Lodge Junction Phase 1. So that's it, folks. Puddles, well worth doing. Microscope slides, some acrylic paint, steel ruler, a scalpel, some foam board, and what else do we need? Yeah, you can use this AK Interactive or AK Muddy Ground Terrain, or just some brown paint to do the area surrounding the puddle. But again, it's something you can add on any layout. It doesn't matter what gauge you're modelling, whether it's O gauge, double O gauge, N gauge, HO gauge, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you live either. This method works really, really well, and those microscope slides are available online. So yeah, hope that's been of some use. And I forgot to mention, actually, I've been asked so many times about how do I clean the track on Heaton Lodge, given there's so much of it. Well, I use these. These are the LGB track cleaners. Yeah, you've got to use them. They take a bit of scrubbing, but it's the only thing, as well as the Pico rubbers. Pico rubbers are actually really good, but they don't cover. They're obviously for double OHO gauge, and they don't cover a whole O gauge track, and you're always battering your fingers with them. The LGB ones do. You can even, if you've got two, these are a bit wider, these two tracks, obviously, because they go through the coal unloading facility. But normally, the distance between two O gauge tracks means that this will actually do two tracks at a time. So they're well worth having. They're not cheap. I think they're at least a tenner each, but they last a long time and they're really good. And the only thing, in my view, that'll get tarnish off a line, as well as the normal dirt and muck that you find on any model railway. So yeah, in answer to your questions, that is what I use to clean track. So this view is completely irrelevant to what I'm going to show you next, but anyway, I just like it. And of course, we're at HS3, where it comes off the baseboard at one end and where it's going to go behind the scenic brake, which is where I am with the camera. But anyway, let's just pan round. So I just wanted to show you, just a couple of minutes left, just what progress I made with the scenery, or the ballasting actually, this week. So as you can remember from last week, we did those boards there, those extension carts. I should say actually that I only did phase 1 and 2 of the scenery. There's still all the weathering to do at that side. There's still all the signs, of loads of signage like stop signs and EWS boards and goodness knows what else to go over there. So there's a lot to do on phase, well, I kind of call it level 3 scenic detail. But on this side, I have just been ballasting, adding some grass, including just over the end of those 2 sidings there. A few bits and pieces of, foliage and stuff. In fact, they're under this viaduct, under HS3. So, I've just used DCC Concepts sidings ballast, which I had a tub left on the left-hand side for the dart ballast. And as you know, I'm going to be using Geoscenics for the rest of it. So this is their limestone ballast here on the two main lines. And all I've done actually is just give it a very, very light covering, and I mean light, of this acrylic spray by Humbrol, which is their dark earth. And I just think it gives it a little bit of a kind of a brake dust feel. In other words, it just looks, it just gives it a dusting anyway, and just tones everything down and beds it in. So yeah, hope you like that. That's going to stretch all the way down the other end. And so yeah, that is what I've squeezed in this week between my travels. So there we have it. A bit more progress this week. So that's about it for this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. It was quite a variety this week, wasn't it? Next week, we're going to be covering the radio-controlled vehicles finally, because I'm nipping down to London. I say nipping, it's a bit of a trip. But Giles Favel has been working on these radio-controlled vehicles, and I'm going to be picking them up. So we're going to be featuring them next week. So have a great weekend. Thanks for watching again. Please like and subscribe as ever. It does mean a lot. And I'll see you next week.